Alright, hey guys, and welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be talking about my iPhone 13 Pro, and it's the one that I've had for basically about 2 years now, and so I just want to talk about a little bit about the software, but then also the hardware and how it's held up. So let's hop right into it. So the first thing I want to clarify is that I am running the developer betas of iOS 17 right now. And so certain things that I'm going to talk about in a minute, like when it comes to battery life, will be a little bit different than I'm sure your experience is. So just keep that in mind. But all right, first things first, let's talk about the screen as it's, the most used part of the device. So as you can see, just having it on, I mean, it's an awesome screen. It was the first iPhone to introduce a 120 hertz refresh rate display. Apple calls it ProMotion. But overall, screen's amazing. I mean, it's a really smooth display even after this time. There's zero burn-in, even on the widest of colors. Like, I've had zero problems with the screen. It's a very high resolution. It's pretty. It goes up to 1,000 nits, which is, it's still usable outside. I mean, I don't have any problems with it. I know some of, the iPhone 14, for example, it went up all the way to 2,000 nits of max brightness. So, there's brighter phones out there, but it still does what it needs to do, right? It's still pretty bright. I still love it, right? All right, now let's talk about the actual screen itself, how scratches have been and stuff like that. I do want to clarify. So basically, for the first probably 6 to 8 months, I wore a case on this phone all the time. And I've had a screen protector on here most of the time I've had it. So probably I've had the screen protector on it for a year and a half, basically. So it's held up relatively good. So let's talk about the screens here. There's a ton of fingerprints. Let me see if I can wipe that off. So overall, right, the screen is relatively fine. There's not any huge problems. We're going to try and avoid some of this reflection best as possible. You'll see kind of right there where my finger is, there is a scratch. That one's kind of a deep one. There's some other ones kind of down. So up here, for example, there's one right there. If I try and get it to focus, you can kind of see it by my fingernail. So it's a pretty, there's some scratches that are just kind of weird. There's a couple up here at the corner here, just kind of weird, deep gouges. I'm not really sure what they came from, but they're there, right? It's kind of annoying that they're there, but they are. So, but overall, I would say the screen's pretty good. I am as careful as humanly possible with this device. If I ever sit it down, it's sitting down on its back, not the screen. But overall, screen's held up good. So let's talk about the sides here. So as you know, or maybe you don't know, the sides of the device here are made out of surgical grade stainless steel. And it's been like that for a while. Newer phones like the iPhone 15 Pro models are titanium, but we got the good old stainless steel right here. So, fingerprints, yeah, it's super fingerprinty. There's, you can see them. Pretty terrible. Just, there's a lot of fingerprints, right? As it's held up, there is some paint scratches just kind of along the side here, right up here where my finger is. There's some solid paint scratches down, I believe, by the charging port. You can see, if I can get in the reflection right, there is some scratches by the charging port where I've missed. But right here, there is actually a sort of a gouge almost. I think it's where I dropped it at one point, and it's a pretty terrible looking little gouge right there. And then along the sides right here too, also pretty terrible, but it's just kind of scratched up right there. One thing about choosing this color specifically is it's not the natural color, which means once you scratch off this color of paint or whatever, it will kind of show, so keep that in mind. But overall, sides have held up relatively fine. It's just kind of beside, up here, there's a ton of little micro scratches, kind of just all over the place, really. You can see them in the reflection really good right there. That's not just dust, that is a lot of micro scratches. But overall, sides have held up pretty well. And then let's talk about the back for a second. As it's also held up relatively fine. There is along, I believe, right over here. That's not any oil or anything. That's kind of a scratch in the glass itself right there. Kind of annoying. Right here I've noticed by my fingernail, there's a little scratch which kind of led onto the glass itself. You can kind of see it there. And then right over here, there's this tiniest little chip, right? I don't know how that happened or when that happened, but that did happen. But hey, it's not cracked, and I take good care of it. I don't think it ever will crack, so there's that. But overall, held up pretty well physically. All right, and then let's get a good look at the camera glass really quick. It's kind of dirty. It's really difficult to clean in there, so you're just gonna kind of have to work with it best you can. But, I mean, the camera glass itself, like these things, they have zero, I mean, there's nothing on them. They're completely scratch-free. They're, like, not full sapphire. They're kind of like a mixture of sapphire and glass, so they're, if anything, at least a little bit stronger than regular glass. But, you know, nothing's really happened there. Microphone works good. LiDAR scanner works good. Flash works good. All three cameras work good. You know, this is just 12 megapixels, tried and true, you know, good old 12 megapixel lens on all of them. We got a telephoto, or main ultra wide and telephoto right there. But yeah, the outside physical build of the phone has held up pretty good. You know, there's your power button here, the 5G antenna, like another antenna down here at the charging port, your speakers, charger, 2 screws, and then the microphone. And then along this side, you have your SIM card tray, 2 buttons here for or the volume buttons, I mean, and then your mute switch, which is still here, right? That's not gone away yet. All right, so let us talk about battery health and battery life. All right, so let's head into settings here and then scroll down to where we see battery. So let's take a look at battery health first so you can get an understanding here. So you'll see mine is currently at 89%. After about 2 years, give or take a little bit of time. So pretty good. You know, there's been tons of, like, if you check like Twitter or X or whatever, like there's tons of mentions of where people are losing crazy amounts of battery health on the iPhone 14 Pro. Like, it's really absurd how much the batteries have degraded on those phones. But, you know, I'm still chilling here at 89%, and it's working like a... So let's look at our last 10 days here. Like, I'm right now sitting at 61%, and I currently have almost 3 hours of screen on time, and then an hour and a half of screen off time. So, like, that's not awesome. Like, that would probably add up to just a few hours of screen on time. You know, battery life, I typically get around the same amount. Like, this day was a little heavier, 4 hours of screen on time, and I used about 75% of my battery, maybe. So it really just depends on the day. Here, I used over 100% of my battery. So, like, a little bit... I discharged it and then charged it up. Had 8 hours screen on time there. So you're not getting a full, like, 8 hours on one single charge unless it's, like, super crazy light use. And, I mean, my use doesn't go further than maybe some music, browsing, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, stuff like that. But for the most part, battery life has held up good. I've not really had a problem with it. The battery itself has held up good. And, I mean, yeah, it's pretty chill. And then on the topic of battery, I want to talk about heat exposure. That's kind of a weird little glitch. It's kind of stuck like that. But I want to talk about heat exposure too. So now where I am is typically kind of toasty. And I mean, you know, even with that extra heat, the battery has held up just fine without any problems. And I mean, I love the phone. Like, it's held up. All right, and last little topic here, I want to talk about water exposure. I'm careful with my devices. I don't typically do anything that would hurt them. Water, for example, this phone hasn't necessarily been around a ton of water. It has been, like, it's not been submerged in water. I have took it in the shower to, like, listen to music or whatever. It's been under some water before, but, I mean, it's not caused any problems. You can actually download a shortcut to eject water from the speakers if you kind of wanted to try that. But, I mean, you know, water's not been a problem. It's not gotten into any camera hole or anything like that. It's been perfectly fine. I've not experienced any problems with the water. Hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell, as it helps me out a ton. And let me know if you want to see more videos like this of just covering tech after it's been through its pace. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see y'all in the next one. So yeah, bye guys.